All right, welcome to another episode of What's Gonna Break Around Here Next. Today I did some bush hogging with my 51 Ford 8N and noticed that the Pto Shaft seal is leaking. So we're about due for hydraulic fluid change anyway, so we're gonna change that. We're gonna change the PTO seal and hopefully fix the problem. Let's get started. All right, let's go through all the supplies we're gonna need. First we'll talk lube. So the manual calls for either 80 or 90 weight mineral oil depending on the temperatures outside. It's November, it's going to be cold, I'll be using it all winter. So what I actually have been using for a while, there's a lot of conjecture online as to what works, what doesn't, what's good for your tractor, what's bad for your tractor. But I've been using the Traveler Premium Universal Tractor Trans Hydraulic Fluid. It's a little light, but being that it's going to be cold outside soon, I think I'll be fine. I've been using it for years with no problem. Anyway, and then we have the seal and gasket kit. It was about 10 bucks online, so it probably won't last that long, so I'm sure it's Chinese. Then Deblo hammer. I have a bearing seal and driver kit. It's like 20 bucks online that we'll use to actually push it in. A lot of people also, you can like lay a washer on top of it and then put like a socket and hammer it in. Some people use PVC pipe. Really doesn't matter, but this was cheap enough. I could probably use it for other things. So then just a punch if I need it. 1/2-inch socket set with, we're going to use an 11/16 and a 1 1/16. And then just a large crescent wrench because there's one of the square bolts we're going to need to knock loose. All right, let's get started. Start with a little foreplay here. First thing, if you're not draining all the fluid, it's either good to jack the back end up or you can actually back it up a hill and park it so all the fluid shifts forward and doesn't pour out the back end when you pull the PTO shaft out. I'm doing everything, so I just have it on flat ground. I'll chock the wheels. The PTO engage lever, a lot of people, I've seen videos where people leave it engaged and wire it down so it won't pop out. I'll try that first, and if for some reason that doesn't work, I'll disengage it. The PTO shaft I'm using was actually aftermarket. It's one of the larger diameter ones, so you don't need the big override coupling and adapter. So that had fitment problems of its own, so it's not a perfect job by any means. But the cool thing is, these old tractors, close is the new perfect. Let's take a peek up the skirt here. Oh, don't get old. All right, you have, don't undo this one under the oil pan, because that's your oil pan bolt. So this is your first one. That's the 1 1/16. Your second one's here. That's also 1 1/16. And then you have your square one here that drains the rear differential. So we'll do that first and work our way forward. A good thing to remember is there's also a lot of fluid. It takes almost 5 gallons. So plan on having something to catch all that or you're gonna have a wet driveway. All right. Okay, let's start with the back here. I got my catch pan. Gonna just get the crescent around it, tap it with a dead blow. Unfortunately, the 5-gallon bucket won't fit underneath of this thing, so it's kind of improvising here. Just another important thing to note is that you want to have your tractor running for a few minutes to get it hot, to get all that fluid loosened up in its liquid state. So it has a tendency to, harden up a little bit or gel up a little bit inside of there. All right, we're ready to drain. I tell my wife I'm sorry about stealing the bathroom trash can here. And we are still pretty gelled up in there. Wow. Oh, here we go. There we go. Come on, baby. And just on the list of things I forgot to add to supplies, just a filler up funnel, some gloves and some napkins, because it is a fairly messy job. All right, let's get back under here. Hey, there we go. All right, so the rear differential's almost drained. We're gonna get the 1 1/16 on, break it loose. I'm gonna just move on up the line and get the next two. So even the best plans have some room for error, so I'm doing a little cleanup down here and letting it finish drain. But one thing you want to do is also, just when you're doing this job, check the quality of your hydraulic fluid when you drain it out, and the quantity. This is pretty good. This is a rag in there. That's a weird looking goopy thing. But if there's a lot of froth and bubbles, that typically means you have some water in there. And one of the big causes of water in there is a cracked shifter boot here that allows water to drip into the transmission. And here's your filler cap where you're going to pour the new hydraulic fluid in when the job's done. But check that. The paint's just cracked. This is actually good to go. I mean, you can put a little sealer on the inside there. But if that's cracked badly and you're seeing water in your hydraulic fluid, it's definitely time to be replaced. It's a very simple job. All right, real quick, we'll get the PTO shaft out here. We use our 11/16. We're going to break the 4 bolts loose. A little bit more. There we go. And all right. Uno. This takes a while. I feel like I should be singing to you guys or something, but I probably lose what few subscribers I have if I did that. Two. Now, if for some reason, once you loosen everything up, you're having trouble pulling the shaft out, there are a couple things that can snag the shaft in there. And they require a little more mechanical intervention. One of the big things is the shaft itself can warp or catch. And there's plenty of stuff online about what to do if that happens. All right, so we got that loose. Let's knock the... There we go. Good to go. Let's see what we got here. That bad boy comes right out like it should. And to quote George Papard, I love it when a plan comes together. Alright, so I'm really bad at giving the supplies list up front because I'm always forgetting something. Snap ring pliers. So inside you have an inner and outer snap ring. So we're going to pop that inner one out. There we go. And then your bearings inside there and your seals behind it. So we're going to flip it over. Of course, I left my hammer over there. Uno momento, por favor. There we go. All right. It's always something. So the aftermarket 1 3/8 inch diameter shaft it comes apart a little bit differently than the original one. So usually I can just put, smack it with the hammer and bang the shaft out of the housing here and with the bearing on it and change the seal. So what we're going to have to do is get this thing on a shop press, see if it'll press through, and then see if the stock, Ford 8N seal will actually fit in this aftermarket piece. And if not, a new one's like 60 bucks for the whole shebang. So no big loss, but let's see what we can do. All right, so we're making a little bit of progress. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but we'll see. So we just successfully dropped the shaft through. Let's see what we got here. All right. So this piece is fixed on there. There's your seal down in there. Flip it over, and there's still a bearing pressed into that side. So we're going to work with it a little bit more and see what we can do. All right, so I put a 20-pound press on it both ways. The way logic would say it would go, it didn't go, but I flipped it the other way and popped it out. So what you can see is this is actually this ring is a second piece, but it's permanently on there. There's no way that's coming off. So the piece I pressed off is here, and you got a bearing in there, and that thing is pressed in there solid. I couldn't get it to move with the 20-pound press. Flip it over, you have your seal here. So what I'm going to try to do is find a way to pop this seal out and then put the replacement OEM seal in and see if that does the trick. And if not, a new shaft it is. Well, I'm definitely poking a lot of holes in it. But hey, here we go, full send, balls or bust. It's getting there, but looks like we're still retaining that outer ring of the seal. So I don't know how good of a thing we're getting. I don't know how much I'm going to destroy this flange in the process. All right. Well, it's part of it. Now I was eventually able to get the bearing out, and the outermost part of this bearing has a metal ring that the rubber part's fused onto. Now that's awesome, but in the process, from the couple times that the screwdriver went through and punctured, I boogered up my threads on the inside with the cap screws on. So I'm going to replace this thing, but for the sake of the video, I am going to go through with the whole process and see if it works. I would imagine that if I was a little aggressive with the hammer and screwdriver, I would imagine that if you went a little more gingerly, you may actually be able to get it out without consequences. Now, another interesting thing I found, if you look inside of here, it's hard to see, there's another snap ring in here. So I'm going to pull that out and see if the bearing comes out. And I'm back out to the garage to try to make some progress on this thing. So a couple things, just watching the clips from earlier today. One, I say the phrase, let's get started, entirely too much. You may not see that in the end product because I'll probably cut all that out. Anyway, two, I referred to the 20-ton shop press as the 20-pound shop press. That was dumb. And three, I was calling for a second the PTO seal the bearing, and that's not the case. I broke the seal. Anyway, let me show you what I got going on here. So I popped the snap ring out, and this is the output shaft here, and then this goes into your hydraulic pump. So the long end goes this way. Once I popped the clip out, I realized I could actually, using the bearing race driver, I could fairly easily tap this bearing through that way towards the output. And once I did that, I also realized there's a very tiny lip on the inside here that this bearing was up against that was preventing me from pressing it out that way. So in theory, what you could do, instead of hammering it through with a screwdriver like I did, and bogering up your threads, you could leave the seal in place, do some acrobatics with your snap ring pliers, and get in there and pop that snap ring out, and then drift the bearing that way, press it up against the seal, and hammer them both out the back end to prevent damage to your threads like I did. Anyway, what I'm going to try to do is put the, I'm going to replace the snap ring and then put the OEM seal in here and see if it fits. Alright, we're going to place that there. So, a good spot to smack it with. Let's put the camera up here. Sweet. Alright. So, output is that way, so like that. Thin film oil around here. Lay it in like so. Put this on top. Put that on there. Grab my BFH. Drive it in. Alright, looks like we are good to go. The PTO seal's in there nicely, and I also checked the rib on the shaft here, and it is actually the same diameter as the inner diameter of the rubber here. Just a little bit over to make it tight. Anyway, so we're gonna lube that up and get it over to the press and see if we can't press this shaft in. Alright, one quick thing to note. I have to go inside. I'm not going to be able to get this until tomorrow morning. So I don't want to leave this hole open overnight. Rodents can crawl in it. It can rain unexpectedly, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do, I just put some Gorilla Tape over it, and any self-respecting man should probably have a stockpile of this stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I got all sealed up, and gonna go inside, take care of business, and I will be back tomorrow morning. Peace. Alright, so I got it on the press this morning, and everything went in good. It looks like we actually have a really good seal in there, so I'm happy about that. So we're gonna pop that outer snap ring back on, and we're gonna install. In. There we go. Snap ring. There we go. Snap ring's on there, nice and snug the way it should be. We're going to remove our tape from last night. And another benefit of putting the tape over, in the morning, the old gasket comes off. So, less work for me to do. We're going to clean our mating surface here. We're also going to clean any dirt or debris that's on the medial end of the shaft here. And get in all those grooves. All those little chunks of whatever can bugger up the works. Alright, that looks good and clean. Let's insert the shaft into the hole. And you got to line up the splines with the input. There we go. Just kind of rotate it till it finds its way in. And don't do like I did and forget to put the gasket on. Sometimes it takes a brain. There we go. And some people take a little bit of contact cement and glue that gasket onto the metal, but I think it'll be okay. Get my bolts started here. And I don't think you guys need to watch me tighten bolts. So basically we're going to do everything. We're going to put it back in the way it came out. We're going to do every other bolt star pattern like you would putting on a tire. And then we're going to fill her up. So I can't find any official torque specs on these, but a lot of stuff with these old tractors, 2 Unga Bungas should pretty much get it done. So that's in there good. We're gonna start filling stuff up just to continue on the fluid change portion of the video. So the fluid goes in here, and one thing to remember, you don't want any dirt or debris, so make sure you wipe around that area real good before you take the cap off and after, just to ensure nothing drops in there. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start filling it up. I usually get about 2 gallons in there, and then run the tractor, especially since it's cold outside, and let that gelled up fluid, loosen up and become liquid again. And then we're going to start checking periodically with the dipstick here. And we're going to keep fill it, check it until you get a little on the higher side of between low and full. Another thing to remember, just to avoid stupid mistakes before you get started pouring stuff in, go underneath and make sure that all of your plugs are tight. I've done that myself. It sucks. But yeah, so get that all filled up, and then every time you run the tractor hard, you should check all your fluids, or even more than that. I don't know. This is what I do. Anyway, we're going to get this thing going, and we're going to see if the OEM Pto shaft steel actually works on the aftermarket stuff. All right, so everything's filled up, everything's up and running with no significant leaks, which is awesome. So I think we've determined that the OEM style seal will work on the larger aftermarket shafts. You just really have to decide, what is your time worth versus money, etc. Do you have the equipment to do the job? You will need a press. But I have a new one on the way, and since this isn't leaking, I'm probably just going to leave it until it fails. I'll have that other one on standby just so I don't have to do any waiting. But I'm glad it all went together. Yet another of the many jobs that are on my to-do list finally finished. So I'm going to go get to it and have a productive rest of my day. Cheers. All right. So in closing, I am not sure if I did this the right way or not, but I'm a man of little mechanical knowledge and modest means, so I did the best I could with what I had, which is, I guess, all you can ask of any man. But hope this video helps somebody, and y'all have a blessed day and happy trails.